Welcome to the Tourism Hub podcast, a podcast devoted to you and your excellence, providing inspiration and education for the entrepreneurs, experience makers, and excellence seekers of our industry to take your tourism business and career to a whole new level.
Relax.
Welcome to the Tourism Hub podcast, brought to you by the Institute of Excellence, the home of tourism and small business. I am your host, Despina, and in today's episode, I want to reflect on the past week that was and dive deeper into the Curtin University Accessibility Challenge that I participated in Perth last week. This experience has been transformative, to say the least, and I'm excited to share my insights and learning with you. But before we do, here's a little backstory on what a 46-year-old mother of three is doing, studying and flying across the country from Melbourne to Perth to participate in the Curtin University Accessibility Challenge. 2.5 years ago, I decided to pursue a lifelong goal of completing my master's degree. Initially, I planned to enroll in an MBA program, yet the Master of Digital and Social Media postgraduate program at Curtin in Perth piqued my interest and I enrolled. With a fully online option, the program fit perfectly for my personal and professional life, so I enrolled part-time and completing one unit, one semester at a time. Things like the big master's research project, digital culture and everyday life, social media communities and networks, web communications, writing on the web, digital culture and everyday life are the type of units that I've been completing. And this semester, it's all about the digital economy. I love it all. And most days, all I wish for is a few extra hours in the day and a few extra days in the week. But last week's Curtin's experience, though, was a little different and had nothing to do directly with my master's and everything to do with my interest in accessibility since being involved in launching Australia's first hot air balloon basket with Kif Saunders and TAC law firm Burton Davies during my time at Global Ballooning. Challenge-based learning is a great initiative at Curtin offered to all students across the campus. I too was offered this opportunity to participate in an accelerated unit centered around challenge-based learning experiences, specifically focused on accessibility. The university invited students from all faculties to join this 6-day intensive course. Despite the logistical challenges of being in Melbourne and the accessibility challenge on campus in Perth, I immediately said yes and worked out how. Traveling across the country and juggling the family and the work. For my first real uni lived experience, it was daunting but incredibly enriching. A little bit about the actual accessibility challenge and the link to the visitor economy, of course. Participating in the Curtin University Accessible Challenge was an eye-opening experience. This 6-day challenge broadened my thinking about the visitor economy and made me consider the lives of people living with a disability across various industries. The challenge highlighted the significance of viewing disability not as a limitation, but also a catalyst for innovation, change, and creativity. The challenge incorporated insights from essential readings, mainly focusing on art galleries and museums for my group. It also integrated inclusive design principles from critical texts and the WA State Disability Strategy 2020 to 2030. My work on the Art Gallery and Museum team further enriched this reflection, where I constantly considered the more comprehensive federal government Austrade Thrive and the Welcome Framework Tourism Strategy. Thrive, fun fact, stands for the Reimagined Visitor Economy, delivered by Austrade with extensive consultation as part of Thrive 2030 strategy to revitalise Australia's visitor economy. The strategy acknowledges the importance of accessibility in the visitor economy sector by aligning with Australia's disability strategy 2021 to 2031. It emphasises that tourism and the visitor economy should be inclusive, providing equal opportunities for people living with disabilities. Australia's Disability Strategy 2021 to 2031 also provides extensive details about policies, initiatives, and commitments related to people with disabilities in the country. However, the strategy of Australia's Disability Strategy document does not mention tourism or the visitor economy at large. The other framework I mentioned is the Welcome Framework, which was informed by the Accessible Tourism Mentoring Pilot Project delivered by Push Adventures. Austrade, represented by the Australian Trade and Investment Commissions, also oversaw the development of the Welcome Framework in partnership with key government and industry stakeholders. The Welcome Framework outlines specific aspects for tourism operators to consider in making their products, our products, more accessible experiences. Welcome. What does it stand for? W, welcome. E for environment. L for links. C for communication. O for operations. M for marketing. And E, experience. It is an excellent framework for all businesses, not just in tourism, to align with best practices in accessible tourism, to enhance customer experiences, attract diverse clientele, and demonstrate a commitment to inclusivity and accessibility. You can Google the Welcome Framework, or I have included it all in the show notes. Back to the challenge in Perth and expert insights that were shared with me to share and pass on to you. A major part of the challenge was thought-provoking masterclasses and insights from disability study leaders, like Professor Katie Ellis's presentation, introducing us to disability models and provided an essential framework for understanding different perspectives on disability. The two primary models discussed were the medical and the social models of disability. Understanding disability models means that we need to understand first the medical model of disability. This was first articulated by early 20th century medical professionals viewing disability as a problem that resides in the individual. This means that the model focused on what is wrong with a person and their weakness, suggesting the individual needs to be fixed to fit in society. For example, if someone has a mobility impairment, the medical model would focus on providing prosthetics or treatments to cure their condition. In contrast, the social model of disability, which gained prominence in the late 20th century through the work of disability rights activists and scholars like Mike Oliver, views disability as a result of societal barriers. This model does not focus on the individual's challenges, but rather on their strengths and capabilities. It suggests that society needs to change to accommodate all individuals. For instance, if a person with a mobility impairment cannot access a building because of stairs, the social model would argue that the problem lies with the lack of a ramp, not the individual's impairment. Changing this narrative around disability, medical model versus social model. The medical model says her impairment is the problem. They should cure her or give her prosthetics. Whereas the social model counters with the stairs are the problem. They should build a ramp. Directly aligned. Visitor economy is the social model in action. The medical model looks at what is wrong with the person and their weaknesses, not what the person needs. Conversely, the social model does not focus on the challenges. Instead, it gives equal attention to what the person can do and focuses and highlights and drives a strengths-based approach. What can people do with their strengths, not what we're going to highlight as what is lacking. Assume that I can, maybe I will. The YouTube clip you didn't think you needed to watch, and you must. I'll also include that in the show notes. This video that was shown to us, Assume That I Can, Maybe I Will, highlighted the detrimental impact of low expectations and assumptions about the capabilities of people living with a disability. By challenging these assumptions and believing in people's full potential, society can unlock everybody's full potential and foster a more inclusive environment. We also watched the late and brilliant Stella Young's TED Talk on inspiration porn, which provided a thought-provoking and powerful critique of society's perception of disability. Another one, a must Google and a must watch, and I'll also include in all of the show notes on the Institute of Excellence website. In Stella's talk, this incredible Australian comedian, journalist, and disability rights advocate challenges us all to rethink how we view and treat people with disabilities. Stella introduces the term inspiration porn to describe the way society uses images and stories of people living with a disability overcoming everyday challenges as a form of motivation for able-bodied individuals. She argues that these portrayals are objectifying and patronizing, reducing people with disabilities to mere tools for others' inspiration rather than recognizing them as individuals with their own rights and own dignity. One of the key points in her talk is that people with disabilities do not exist to inspire able-bodied people. Thank you very much. Instead, she highlights that people living with a disability live their lives just like anyone else, dealing with unique challenges and experiences just like everybody else. By framing their lives as extraordinary simply because of their disability, society sets a low bar for what is considered inspirational. It perpetuates a limited understanding of what people with disabilities are capable of achieving. Young's talk is funny and to the point, effectively using her lived experiences to illustrate the broader societal issues at play. She calls for a shift in perspective, urging people to see disability as a normal part of the human experience and to value people living with a disability for who they are, not just for their ability to inspire others. Similarly, the WA State Disability Strategy, which we based a lot of our broader accessible challenge, of course, being Curtin University in Perth, we focused on the state's disability strategy, outlined a comprehensive plan to create a more inclusive community. It emphasises that inclusion is a shared responsibility and highlights the importance of making services, systems, workplaces, and environment accessible and welcoming for everyone. This strategy provides a roadmap for significant shifts in community attitudes, accessibility, and equity for people with disabilities. This entire accessibility challenge over the 6-day, it really was a transformative experience for me to be in this environment and with a whole 24/7 focus on the rights and the creation of inclusive communities and experiences. Reflecting on my own learning during this unit, this accelerated unit, we were encouraged to explore and write an essay on how can I participate in creating a more inclusive future. So we had to write an extensive piece of work around what will I do now? The challenge emphasised the significance of viewing disability not as a limitation, but as a catalyst for innovation, creativity, and change. This reflection integrated insights from the suggested readings, mainly focusing on art and museum, and incorporated these inclusive design principles from essential texts and the WA State Disability Strategy that I mentioned earlier. Our group wonderful humans focusing on art galleries and museums, focused on creative, inclusive solutions for individuals, particularly with vision and cognitive disabilities. I felt a deep sense of pride discussing the tourism industry and sharing other incredible work, such as Kerry Williams from Accessible Accommodation Australia with the Housing Group, and then Hayley Brown, the founder of Vacate, and the team, and their innovative audio visitor enhanced experiences and the solution that Vacate produces. For us specifically, we worked on developing a 3-part solution that included a tactile art guide program that's easy to read, audio guides, and wearable glasses with built-in live sensors, cameras, and speakers. Now, working with engineering students to come up with a prototype of these wearables just inspired me to no end. Now, our project centred on the artwork of Bruno Booth, a distinguished artist living with a disability, opened up even a whole new world around artists and what incredible work artists living with a disability produce. And I went to see his works and appreciate his work. You can view in the show notes, I'll put in the presentation and more work and resources where you can discover Bruno Booth also. Now, this is also what we displayed and presented to community leaders in the WA disability sector and also the academic leaders on the final evening of the challenge. So really, really well put together by the team at Curtin. Going back to my personal commitment to inclusivity and what I incorporated in my 1,000+ word essay, particularly as a tourism professional participating in a challenge like this, gave me invaluable insights into how I can join in creating a more inclusive future within the tourism and small business communities that I work in and serve. Sharing the experience here with you on this podcast is a start in that journey of sharing and doing my bit by linking in to what I learned and the Thrive and Welcome framework strategies to share with you. Furthermore, my responsibilities to creating a more inclusive future. I'll take you through just some of the list of what I mentioned and what we were encouraged to be post the challenge as accessibility allies. First is advocacy and awareness. Continuously raising awareness about the importance of accessibility in various sectors, including tourism and education and the arts, and construction for that matter. This involves educating our peers, clients, and stakeholders about the benefits of inclusive design from the beginning, not an afterthought. Then I was reflecting on my own work in industry development in online accessibility. Integration of marketing strategies focusing on web accessibility is crucial in promoting inclusivity within the tourism industry, ensuring that businesses cater to the diverse need of all visitors, including those with accessible needs. I'm very proud to join the Victoria Tourism Industry Council, VTIC, at the moment, for example, and delivering training to support the Quality Tourism Framework, helping operators earn their accessible accreditation, which is an extension of becoming a sustainable tourism accredited business. In the past 6 months, developing and delivering this brand new training program on behalf of VTIC to complement accreditation in this journey of launching what we've called the VTIC Quality Tourism Business Program, and taking my own business, Institute of Excellence, through the paces and going through the accessible online assessment really is a journey to accessible awareness and accessible intelligence to that matter. And in turn, I produced a report that I will also link to the show notes, as well as more information about how you can become involved as a quality tourism business in Victoria. And, accreditation is available across the country, and a real focus at the moment for us to all raise the bar. Promotional information is another one, making promotional information easy to find and absorb, addressing the needs of the community that has access needs, which extends to your online presence. Now, one of the very first trainings I delivered about a decade ago was about web accessibility and how closely aligned good online accessible practices are also very good SEO practices. SEO, of course, being search engine optimization and being findable. Updating your website with detailed, accessible features, photos, good image descriptions, accessibility apps is an excellent first start to your journey. Feedback and engagement, encouraging feedback on how to support broader participation and make experiences more enjoyable for all visitors, is all about asking, getting out there with the community. How could we have made your experience better? What is it that you look for in a tour, in accommodation, in a great day out? Okay, it's all about inclusive design implementation from the beginning, ensuring that all projects and initiatives that are undertaken incorporate inclusive design principles. This means consulting individuals with disability first during the planning and design stages to understand their needs and preferences, as we did and were encouraged to do for our project. The Welcome Framework provides practical advice for tourism businesses to make their services more accessible and inclusive, emphasizing the need for clear communication, improved operations, and enhanced visitor experiences. So I can't have that one in your toolbox. Empowering voices and amplifying the voices of people with disability by involving them in the decision-making processes and providing platforms for them to share experiences and insights. This aligns with the concept that inclusive design must always place people at the heart of process. It's a no-brainer. However, it is still very much largely talked about that it is an afterthought, not a pre-thought and a discussion. And continuous learning and improvement. This constant work in progress of staying green and growing, staying informed about the latest developments in accessibility standards and inclusive design practices. This involves engaging with ongoing professional development opportunities and learning from successful case studies. Mark your calendars, 27th of August is a great start with the Australian Accessible and Inclusive Tourism Conference right here in Melbourne for the second year. I encourage everybody that's working in this space to come along. Collaborative efforts is another one I noted, and make a concerted effort to continue in my journey of creating a more inclusive future. In the same way that my student colleagues and I engage with key stakeholders, participating in a more inclusive future by engaging with industry partners, government bodies, and local communities to promote and implement inclusive practices. The Thrive 2030 strategy further emphasises this comprehensive collaboration and enhancing visitor infrastructure to support a resilient and inclusive visitor economy. So to start summing things up, reflecting on the Curtin Accessibility Challenge and the insights from the readings, I am more committed than ever as an accessibility ally to contribute to a more inclusive future. By advocating for, implementing, and continuously improving inclusive design practices, I feel really great to put this at the forefront, even more so than ever, to help create environments where everybody can participate fully and equally, regardless of their ability, taking that social model and strength-based approach. This journey towards inclusivity is not just about meeting standards, but fundamentally changing how we think about and design our world. I'm grateful for the incredible opportunity and the transformative experience over the 6 days I spent over living as a student at Curtin. And I really commend and congratulate all of Katie and Gwyneth and all of the Tim, all of the amazing people and, mentors and lecturers that came along for the journey to support us. Thank you, my friends, for joining me on this episode of the Tourism Hub podcast. I'm Despina, and I look forward to continuing this meaningful conversation with you in future episodes with guests. Maybe even Katie or one of the professors from Curtin can join me in a conversation. If you did enjoy this episode, please head over and give a little like or subscribe on your favorite listening platform. Even leaving a little review will go a long way to help share the tourism love with others. To access the full version of my Accessibility Challenge journey and all of the additional resources, visit instituteofexcellence.com. And don't forget that the Australian Accessible and Inclusive Tourism Conference will be held in Melbourne this year on August 27. All the details and a discounted ticket opportunity to save yourself 20% will be in the show notes. And I will have links and details in not only the show notes, but a blog post to look out for on instituteofexcellence.com. Stay tuned and let's continue the conversation and let's continue working together to make our world a more inclusive place. Thank you so much, everyone. And let's just keep making today better than it was yesterday. Thank you so much. See you next time.
Relax.